What's going on?
How you doing, Saul?
Good.
How you doing,
Good.
Mark?
Doing well.
It's good. It's good. All right. Um, we could start whenever you guys want to start. I mean, I guess we have like 2 minutes, or we could just start right now. Are you ready? You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay,
Ready to
gotcha,
go?
gotcha. All right, so we have Mark Allen versus Placide Saul on the proposition hard determinism is true. Um, Mark Allen, I believe who is taking the affirmative on this one? I think it's Mark Allen. Mark Allen. Yep, Mark Allen is the affirmative, and Placide Saul is the negation. Um, so I guess Mark is going to start with the opener. You have a 7-minute opener, and we can start the timer whenever you say your first word.
Okay, so I affirm that hard determinism is true. Tonight's question basically hinges upon whether human beings possess a libertarian power to do otherwise under identical conditions, or whether our choices are fixed by what I call antecedent priors operating under the laws of nature. My position is that hard determinism is true. By that, I mean, again, given the same priors and the same laws, the same act or output follows. The folk picture of I could have chosen tea instead of coffee for breakfast is nothing more than mere theater. Then we got to get the definitions clean because the debate kind of lives or dies on them. So hard determinism. Human actions are necessitated by prior conditions, plus the laws of nature. That's the case. If that's the case, the libertarian brand of free will genuinely, that is to say that you genuinely could have done otherwise with everything else fixed, doesn't fit. So what is this everything else? Not just the last visible shove in causation like the billiard ball. Cause and effect is only the surface push. A cue ball hitting an 8-ball and the eight ball dropping into the pocket is just cause and effect. Antecedent priors are the scaffolding beneath the surface. Why the cue ball was already moving, was the player's hand shaking, what way was the table leaning, why did winning feel important, was my motor cortex working right, my hormone levels. Basically, antecedent priors are the entire web of conditions that load the dice before the roll. Before that conscious thought of I chose ever pencil in our brain. This myriad of all prior circumstances is what I mean when I say antecedents. So then we have to move on into each action a human takes. And the question can be asked, was this action caused by any prior antecedents, or was it uncaused? And I would argue that a man can do what he wills, but he cannot wills what he wills. Our will is shaped by those antecedent priors, and that I could have done otherwise is false. There's no third door. So either there's no third door where a sovereign ego steps outside of causality and authors itself a decision ex nihilo. Even when we look back to the coffee versus tea, it feels like we can make this choice, but if we look at all the priors in the morning, from the treat yourself, how much sleep, what kind of taste do you like, what kind of advertisements you get, if you have a sore throat, the outcome on the tea of coffee or coffee for breakfast was already decided before you chose it. And then I also need to be clear, because I'm not sure where the debate is like actually headed, if we're talking about human choice or just indeterminacy in the universe. But I don't think quantum mechanics saves you here. Even if there is indeterminacy in like brain spikes or quantum atoms shedding radioactive isotopes, on a macro scale, these things kind of even out. Even we can't pin down exactly when uranium sheds radioactive isotopes, but over a long enough timeline, radioactive decay is basically as good as a clock. And then the truth is unromantic and useful. We are structured creatures. History's wearing skin. You can do what you will. You cannot will what you will. This isn't nihilism. It's just a brief on our design. If we want different outcomes, we change our priors, our educations, incentives, and norms, our environment, our training, maybe even our medications. We move the rails. We don't move, or yeah, we move the rails, but the train goes where the rails take you. And with that, I yield my time.
Okay, move on to Placide Saul's opener, and we'll set a timer whenever you say your first word.
I want you to notice what my opponent has done. They've assumed an A theory of time, the idea that the past is completely fixed, that the present is real, and that the future is open but will be determined by prior causes. That's the hidden presupposition behind every determinist claim. But that model of time is not the only one, and modern physics suggests it may very well be incorrect. On a B theory, or the block universe, all moments are equally real. The future is not waiting to be determined, it already exists. Time doesn't flow, it's already laid out tenselessly, like a map. Causation, then, is not one moment generating another. It is simply a relation between events in the block. What does this do to determinism? It erases it. There is no causal unfolding where the past forces the future. The block doesn't need to be determined. It simply is. And within that block, my choice at T2 is as real as the Big Bang and as real as the sun burning out billions of years from now. It's not imposed from any outside. It is the expression in the block. So determinism depends on a false model of time. Once we push down that presupposition, determinism collapses into description. And description is not coercion. The block is not a chain, it's a whole. This is one of the key components. But to be honest, I feel like every free will debate begins with the wrong picture altogether. We're told to imagine an isolated self, a little ego, a billiard ball, so to speak, to use his analogy, pushed around by causes, pinned down by laws of nature, trapped in a chain, stretching back to the Big Bang. And from this picture, we're told freedom, it's an illusion. But this picture is false because the self is not a lonely particle in opposition to the world. The self is the world in expression. As Spinoza wrote, each thing, as far as it is, can by its own power strive to persevere in its being. That striving is not coercion, it's expression. My arm is not determined by my brain as if some alien force. It is my brain, my body, my will, and manifestation. In the same way, my choices are not determined by a universe outside of me. They are the universe expressing itself through me, as me. Determinists confuse expression with coercion. They mistake necessity for chains, but as Hegel argued, freedom is not the absence of necessity. It is the recognition of necessity. To be what you are fully is the highest freedom. Consider this: the laws of nature, the relation of things, the logical structures of reality, these are not external shackles binding us. They are the very grammar of expression. They are the conditions that make freedom possible. As Heidegger observed, freedom is not escape from being. It is belonging to be, standing in the clearing where things disclose themselves. When we consider this idea that the individual is somehow constrained, is somehow being forced into doing something, or is limited to act only as, what we really recognize is that this is not a discussion about force or a lack of freedom. It's really a discussion about personhood, about selfhood. Because the question that's seminal is, who or what is the being apart from its very essence, which is an amalgam of all of the things that's being pushed around. What is this second person that doesn't have the ability to do otherwise from their societal programming, from their physicality, from their nature? What is this being that is not the brain, is not the very physical forces that comprise them? What is that? What is it? If that can be determined, clearly I concede. If someone can give me an explanation as to who and or what this being person is, apart from the very things that they are comprised of, I concede. Because then, sure, they would be trapped. The rabbit would be trapped in rabbithoodness because some other creature is forcing it to be rabbit-like. What does that even mean? The first thing we have to understand is that if there is a limitation on the person, then there must be some person apart from all of the components that make the person a person. I'll yield my time.
Thank you for that. Now moving on to cross-examination. Mark, you get 5 minutes, and we'll start your timer whenever you say your first word.
So I just want to state that mysticism, idealism, and B theory of time aren't going to save you. And in fact, if you're going to hold to a B theory of time, which basically states that the future is as real as the past and the past is as real as the future, and all are equal to right now, then there's already no you could have done otherwise. You're just arguing to determinism. If the future's already locked in, which I do hold to be theory of time, by the way, because that is the current model, then you're just conceding determinism. And then you also say that I have to assume identity, which I don't assume identity. I think that we are a bundle of perceptions spread across this B theory of time, and we just evolutionary have a process that retroactively kind of makes sense of our reality. And in any case, you're saying, you're alluding to like essences and Platonic forms and what makes a human. Well, I mean, that's not really the debate at hand, and I don't really need to explain any of those. You need to show me how, if you're arguing for a B theory of time and stating that the future is just as relevant as the past, how you can maintain free will within there. And would you care to do that?
So the B theory of time and free will are in no opposition whatsoever. A person who's making a decision to walk through the door A, B, or C, all of those took place and all of them exist simultaneously. So there isn't any concession in regards to the decision made. And so now we have a simple explanation.
Are you saying when I choose to drink coffee, tea, or lemonade that I made all three decisions?
Precisely.
Okay. I'm not even sure what I'm debating here, to be honest with you. It's just kind of like radically incoherent. But anyways, I just yield my time.
If you're familiar, okay, sure. So here's what we're really talking about. Number one, there are two main points.
One second. Let me yield it. Hold on. He yielded his time. All right. So now I'm gonna start your timer. Whenever you say your first word.
Yeah, so there are two main points that I'm coming with. Number one, this idea that the B theory of time is erroneous. Perhaps let me explain what that means. B theory of time is the core idea that all points in time, past, present, and future, are equally real. That time doesn't flow, and that the passage of time is an illusion of human consciousness, and that events do not come into being. They simply already exist in a four-dimensional space-time structure. So if you're key and aware of that, that would bring us to a place where, yes, an individual that has tea, coffee, or juice, all of those things exist simultaneously, and that there wasn't any particular that was chosen over another. That's the concept. You're coming from a different theory where there is cause-effect relation as it pertains to time and in linearity, and that in and of itself is a presupposition. So I'm going to actualize really the core of the argument, which you obviously didn't understand, and perhaps this will make it clearer with a few questions. So my first question to you is, when you make the claim that an individual has been limited or forced into making a decision as a result of physiology or psychology or sociology or any of these, quote, external factors, can you please explain to me who is being forced?
It's not necessarily like a force. Basically, your antecedent priors are going to give you a limited choice of options that you're,
My question is not being answered. My question is, who is the you? Please give me who the you is.
That's a totally separate question than what you just asked.
No, it's not. It's the same question. My question is, can you provide to me who is being restricted or forced or coerced? I'm looking for the individual that you're referring to.
So I'm kind of in agreement with you that I think identity is like an illusion or a bundle of perceptions that stretch across time.
Great. So then if you're in agreement with me, and I'll go ahead and take that, because here's the point. The individual, if we're looking at it just from a worldview, and we're saying, hey, things are what they are from a physical perspective, and the unit being the human being is an amalgam of these physical processes. And then you turn around and say, well, the physical process forced the person. That just in and of itself would be incoherent, wouldn't you say?
It's not that it's a matter of force. It's a matter that it limits the ability to make a libertarian free will choice.
Great. And so
I can't
what
choose
liberty
something outside
would be
of
limited? Who's mine? I'm asking you a simple question, and it seems like you can't answer. Please tell me, if you're looking at a person, and the person is the brain, and the person is the body, and the brain act, what would be in the opposition of that? Who would be limited to this act? What liberty would not be afforded?
So the liberty that wouldn't be afforded would be antecedent priors that limit options. I don't see why this is hard to, like, you can't choose to freely lift a stone that is too heavy for your physiology.
You're clearly not understanding the question because you haven't answered it. Antecedent priors pertain to some subject, and my question is really simple: who that subject is. So I'm going to go ahead and reclaim my time. The point is simple. There isn't an answer to that, because the fact of the matter is that there is an inconsistency in the logic. There's a persistent push that there is some individual that is being infringed upon, limited, inhibited, and then there's a declaration that all we are these physical things. And not only these physical things, the logic would include that all of these priors are in fact the predecessors necessary for there to be the thing, and that this is a relation and not some sort of an isolation. And so really what we're identifying here is that this lack of liberty doesn't have a subject. And as I said in my opener, if one can be produced, I'll concede, but it can't. So when we're talking about determinism, what we're talking about are presuppositions that have no basis on the practical reality and logic.
That's time. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the second round of the rebuttals. Mark, you get another 5 minutes. We'll start whenever you say first.
Placide. Do you know people? Like, can you identify individuals? Like, if you went to the bar and saw a friend, would you know who that was?
Yes, I do.
So why is it so hard to know what a person is?
It's not hard for me at all. A person is an amalgam of physical things as well as circumstantial and other types of things really easy.
Yeah, and how is that any different than what I said in relation to a bundle of perceptions over time?
Yeah, a bundle of perceptions over time is not a person in and of itself, right? A perception is something
Sure,
that
I reclaim
a
my
person
time.
has.
I reclaim my time.
Yeah,
Okay. Anyways, so you subscribe to a B theory of time, right?
I do.
How is it that you subscribe to a B theory of time where past, future, and present events are all equally real, but then you also say that just all events are all simultaneously real? Like, you say that you hold to B theory of time, but in reality, it was what you're saying is, and you've conceded to, is that I'm having tea, lemonade, and coffee. Not that I chose tea or lemonade. And so where does this experience of me having this tea or lemonade in the alternate universe like matter to me here?
It doesn't matter to you in one tense or the other.
Okay. It just seems like a very esoteric like view. Like, you're saying you hold to B theory of time, right? That the past, present, and future are all equally real. And hard determinism is about whether or not we have the libertarian free will to choose otherwise. You're smuggling in B theory of time, and you're saying, kind of, but then you're also screwing it up by just saying, well, you actually make all decisions. So it's just kind of hard for me to even have something to argue against here when, like, you're not even arguing for free will. You're just saying that we don't even know what I is, and we don't know what I is, and therefore we can't, and all options actually get taken. So I also find that as a form of fucking determinism. My bad, because like if I'm already in a multiverse where I'm determined to make all options, there's still no free will there. You need to provide a mechanism for us. Well, I guess you don't. I guess I assume that you have to show free will, which you don't. I guess I am misunderstanding the prompt. You're just saying hard determinism isn't true. But I want to say that hard determinism is true because B theory of time is true. And all actions that humans make are made from antecedent priors. And until you can show me otherwise, that I made an action that doesn't have an antecedent prior, and how it was also willed, you haven't that's the only way you're going to falsify determinism, hard determinism, right? Okay. So what would be the mechanism to determine that hard determinism isn't true?
It's not a mechanism at all. So that would be leading to something that I wouldn't utilize. Mechanism, again, would be a presupposition of some sort of a chain that is, temporal, and I don't adhere to that.
Okay. When you select what you're going to eat, do you think that there were conditions that made you decide to eat and what you decided to eat?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you also hold to a B theory of time, right?
Yes, I do.
So that means in the future, it doesn't matter what you think you picked. The future's already real and you already picked.
What happens in future and what happens in past is, again, something that you are looking at as a linear, and I look at it as lateral. So there isn't a time.
I reclaim my time. I'm not looking at it as linear. I look at it as a bundle of perceptions across what we call I perceives as time and human cognition. And I think you have a wildly incoherent position.
Okay, thank you. So, all right, that concludes the second round. We're on to the last round. Oh no, sorry. That concludes Mark's second round. So we're on to this Placide's second round now. Okay, go ahead. We'll start your time whenever you say your first word.
Yeah, so what my interlocutor is not really comprehending, number one, is he's trying to now state that somehow this B theory of time is this woo concept. So perhaps he should be aware that special relativity, put forth by this guy by the name of Einstein, he actually looked at the fact that there's a simultaneity and that time is quite relative and that there is no absolute now, meaning a past, present, and future are frame dependent, and that the implications for time is that the flow of time is not universal, that all events exist relative to the space-time coordinates. In addition to that, he may also not be aware of Hermann Minkowski, who reformulated special relativity and showed that space-time is a four-dimensional block and that time is just another dimension like space, and that events are points in this 4D manifold. But that would assume that he would be reading something in regards to science, which I don't want to make that presupposition. What I can say is when it comes to why freedom in regards to will is in fact the case and that determinism is not, my argument for that is that freedom is intrinsic to the nature of being. And I support that because nature, in any regard, under any circumstance, has no contingency. It has no prerequisite. Nature, by definition, from a philosophical frame, is a fundamental characteristic by which things or persons operate. There is no why the nature is. That's the part where people just say, it is that way. It's just the way that it is. Why the electron does what it does, or why things are as they operate, is the nature of things. So because nature is the cornerstone of the how and why for individuals, freedom is intrinsic. Thus, determinant, when we say what determines my choice of eating this cereal or walking through this door, that determination is simply a continuance of the one thing that is, and not some separate, broken individual stuff that's infringing upon me. For there to be anything to exist, there is an interrelation that defines its existence. You can't have 6 without there being 5 and 7. This is derived from an ontic structural realism, which is an idea that recognizes relation as fundamental and not things being discrete in and of themselves. So I would ask my opponent again, can you give me a definition for that which is being restricted? Can you define what is not being allowed to fully express its, quote, will?
And you can see your time?
This is, I was asking the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's the question.
That was a very long-winded question. Can you just make it a little more succinct?
My question is, can you please define that which has a restriction of will, if in fact that person is the extension of the things that is being claimed to be restricted?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're just misframing. I'm not going to be able to answer it within that framework. Basically, what I would say is you're just this whole humans emerge from this essence is just fundamentally flawed.
I'll go ahead and reclaim my time He doesn't have,
Okay.
and he's not addressing anything that I'm saying. He's just trying to go back and say, I'm pulling out some sort of mysticism, and clearly doesn't understand the theory of time, doesn't understand Minkowski, doesn't understand the nature of being, doesn't understand relation. So I'll go ahead and yield my time.
Good, thank you.
Starting
So then now the last
so
round,
these are
we're
going to be
gonna start.
some.
So go ahead. No, sorry, I'm just setting up the timer for you. All right, we'll start the timer. All right, so now, yeah, go ahead. Now we'll start the timer whenever you say your first word.
So by free will tonight, do you mean the ability to have done otherwise under identical antecedent conditions and laws?
Can you repeat that?
By free will tonight, do you mean the ability to have done otherwise under identical antecedent conditions and laws?
No.
Okay, thank you. So you're not taking a colloquial look at free will. For the record, I hold the B theory of time. Do you think that there is a difference between an actualized future that is actually going to exist in this, or are all possibilities of all futures equally real in the present?
The latter. All are equally real.
Okay. Are these possible future events dictated by events that are currently happening in the present?
No.
Okay. So you think like in the future you think so hang on, how do I want to frame this? Hang on. I got some other ones I wrote down. Okay, on this B theory of time, right? Because I subscribe to B theory of time, you subscribe to B theory of time, and this seems to be kind of like the hang up that we're having here. I would say that you're just arguing against yourself, and I'm saying there's no way that you can sit there and say that the future is already real, but you have the free ability to choose between all options, right? The reason there is an actualized future is because all current options in the future don't have the same weight. You're going to have like a Bayesian probability across all possible realms, right? And the realm that is going to proceed from this one that's going to actualize is going to be the one that has the most antecedent priors leading to it. And then back to this, what I don't even like Descartes' cogito ergo sum, right? Because it's what I call I. I'm not even sold into this unified identity theory, right? But for you to say, try and salvage free will out of some kind of like nature or essence of what humans are by the realm in which we manifest, you're also just conceding back into my point that humans don't have all options of libertarian free will to them by their very nature. You've conceded on like every front, from B theory of time to saying that antecedent conditions don't necessitate the future, which is wild to me. Like, I don't see how we would have any scientific model ever if we didn't, use the models based on predictions from antecedent priors. So saying I'm the anti-scientific one is kind of wild to me when you put up scientific theories that I agree with, and then you just retreat into like continental philosophy. I don't know. Are you saying that free will exists?
I'm saying that free will absolutely exists.
Okay, that's good enough.
You can see your time, Mark. Oh, you can go ahead.
I'm just trying. I'm just so. I'm not like lost. I'm just like the responses I have gotten in this debate weren't anything that I like prepped for at all. This is not where I thought this discussion was going. But yeah, I concede my time. Fuck it.
No, sorry, I just didn't know whether or not you were like because the
Yeah, I'm
pause.
good to concede my time.
Okay, all right. Sounds good.
I do
Proceed.
affirm the proposition that hard determinism is true.
Yeah. All right, proceed, Saul. This is your last rebuttal. We'll start the timer whenever you say your first word.
Sure. So let me ask a couple of questions. Do you believe, are you a physicalist?
I have some views on physicalism, and I generally find it attractive as a theory. I'm not like committed to it. I'm not committed
Okay.
to a lot of beliefs like super hard. I just kind of weigh the evidence.
Do you believe that a person is a physical being, or are they a spiritual being?
People are physical beings.
Physical beings. Great. Can you define physical for me?
Made up of physical matter. Made up of matter.
Great. So does physical matter make decisions?
Yes.
Physical matter does make decisions. Great. So then I think I rest my case. You have affirmed that a human being is a physical being and that physical matter makes decisions. Great. And so is there anything, my question would be, is there anything that inhibits physical matter from being physical matter?
Is there anything that inhibits physical matter from being physical matter?
Correct.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure if there's something that's inhibiting physical matter from being itself?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Okay. Well, most people are pretty sure, and it's a pretty easy question to answer, and it's no. There's nothing inhibiting the thing from being the thing itself. And since my opponent has recognized that matter does make decisions, that would conclude that one, there's nothing inhibiting the will of the thing, and the thing is doing as it is in its nature to do. Thus, the freedom to make decisions is intact, free will is real, and therein lies the premise of the argument. I rest my case.
Do you concede your time?
I do. I'm done.
Okay, great. Now moving on to closers. All right, Mark, you have a 3-minute closer. We'll start the timer whenever you say your first word.
So, to cut through the vibes and just kind of focus on structure, the proposition on the table was not do I feel free or am I free through my nature, or do all futures exist in the future and I had coffee, tea, and lemonade. My opponent seems to try to very creatively create like a backdoor out of the questions. This isn't a question about, like, the debate topic wasn't about my theory of identity. The debate wasn't about, B theory of time was a nice little segue. I was welcome for that. But the guest kind of absolutely failed on reconciling B theory of time. Nowhere in hard determinism does it say that you can't make decisions. It's just the decisions you can and do end up making are caused by your antecedent priors. That's just a straw man he knocked down. That was pretty good rhetoric, but it still doesn't get to the heart of the matter. You can do as you will, but you can't will your will. Your will is going to be based, just like he said, from your physiology of being a human. As far as like there being a soul, there being any of this, it doesn't really matter whether or not there's a soul. There were a lot of red herrings thrown in. Basically, I think that if you know all the priors or the inputs, you're going to know the outputs. This is how predictive modeling in science works. This is how we come to predictions in weather patterns. This is technology, and basically that we use every day built on this principle. So I think that the pragmatics are on my side, the utilities on my side, and that there's not really anything beyond vibes and feels and continental philosophy to make me feel like there's free will. There's no motivation there for anyone, and I hope everyone in here kind of has the intelligence to see through what was put in front of you. Thanks AR for putting this on. Thanks everybody for listening. And with that, I rest my time.
All right, appreciate it. All right, Placide Saul, we'll begin your timer whenever you say your first word.
Ladies and gentlemen, my opponent claims that none of my points were seminal. Let's examine the claim carefully, logically, and with precision, because honestly, it just collapses under scrutiny. First, I argue that the debate is misframed. Free will versus determinism isn't about whether some isolated ego is trapped by causal chains. It's about the ontology of selfhood in the first place, the very nature of existence. The self is not a detached billiard ball and a machine. The self, together with things, relations, and laws, is a continuous whole. My opponent ignored this. Yet this is the foundation. Without it, determinism is meaningless. This is the point. Second, I introduced a B theory of time, the block universe, to undermine the hidden presupposition that time is A theory. Modern physics confirms this. Special relativity shows that simultaneity is relative. Minkowski space-time demonstrates that time is a fourth dimension. General relativity shows that time is local and flexible. There is no universal now. In this block universe, the future isn't waiting to be determined. It simply exists. My opponent's determinism assumes linear flowing time, a presupposition science rejects. This is not peripheral, it's foundational to the whole point. Third, I reframed freedom as expression, not escape. Every act, every law, every relation is the self, the whole, expressing itself. Spinoza writes this. Each thing, as far as it can, by its own power, strives to persevere in its being. Hegel argued that freedom is recognition of necessity. Nietzsche taught amor fati, to affirm life, to embrace necessity is to realize freedom. This is the point, because it destroys the conventional determinist claim that freedom requires indeterminacy. I also appeal to the laws, relations, and conditions themselves. Hard determinism often treats laws as chains, coercing the self, but laws are not shackles. They are the very grammar of reality. They enable expression. They structure reality. They are the medium of freedom. To deny this is to mistake the framework of reality for its limitation. And finally, science itself, physics, cosmology, relativity, it confirms my points. Relativity undermines A theory. Quantum mechanics provides openings for indeterminacy, emergent systems, and it demonstrates that complex expressions cannot be reduced to micro-level causation. The very universe that determinists invoke to imprison freedom actually proves it exists in its expression. My opponent might be dismayed or dismiss my points as non-seminal, but the truth of the matter is that the opposite. Each point attacks the very determinist edifice at its foundations. Ontology, time, expression, law, and science. These are the pillars of the reality that I was presenting. He presented, I don't like this guy's woo. Denying them is not merely wrong, it's just incoherent on his part. And he doesn't have any response to any of those things. And I would point out that he literally supported my view in my cross-examination when I asked if physical things make decisions. He said, yes. Are we physical things? Yes. Is there anything that is prohibiting things from making decisions? He said he doesn't know. There is no resistance to what it is that's put up.
And that's time. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. And that concludes the debate. All right. Now we got the judges. Whoever wants to go first can give their critique.
It's back to me. Well, thank you both for agreeing to do this. Mark, I think you had a strong opening. You laid out the kind of standard case for determinism. I think your cross-examinations, you did what you could with what you were expecting. I think Placide. Do you prefer Placide or Placide? Placide threw some curveballs at you, and I think you fumbled on a couple of things, but nothing was like terribly catastrophic. And your closing, I think, did a good job reiterating your initial views. Placide, that was. I feel like there was a lot of straw manning going on his position as to whether he accepts or doesn't accept a particular theory of time. I didn't find the method of argumentation to be even structurally valid, because determinism is compatible with both B theory, it's compatible with modal realism, it's compatible with object structural realism, it's compatible with non-physicalism, it's compatible with a variety theories of identity. So I feel like the thesis was not even addressed, which is that, given the laws L and the complete state at some time t, that there's exactly one admissible total history that extends that state. So it's like a uniqueness of evolution claim. And I don't think any of your arguments really attack that, which was his primary thesis that he was defending. So yeah, I would definitely give it to Mark on this.
Thank you, fun sir. All right, Mitch or Friction? One or the other? Judges? You there?
Jeez. Okay. Yeah. Hey, guys. Thank you both. Yeah, for Yeah, thank you both for that. Right. So openings. I think both were quite strong. Mark, your opening was really strong. You got the definitions out the way. You hedged that even like something like quantum indeterminacy wouldn't be adequate to kind of influence choice, and so like indeterminism at that level was kind of hedged, because normally hard determinism is the thesis that for all events, those events are determined, but you kind of you dealt with that in your opening. Placide, I thought your the strongest part of your opening was the referring to B theory and causality. It would have been nice to hear more about how causality is illusory, and if causality is illusory, then the antecedents don't at least causally entail the consequence, because there wouldn't be any cause. So it was really good. But then you kind of pivoted into this like identity talk, which just, it was very poetic, but I didn't see the relevance of it at all. And then in the cross, it just got more kind of esoteric. Again, all beautifully said, but you just you mentioned like Spinoza, the self and freedom, like Hegel and the recognition of necessity, which I felt like you conceded the point at that point. Like, I don't know if you meant to, but you said like things will be causally necessitated. So that was confusing. And then kind of accusing Mark of like having an A theory was weird. I don't think that was implied. That seemed like to come out of nowhere. Excuse me. In the closing, I think you both did really well again to kind of bring up the points. Again, I'll probably give it to Mark. You summarized the argument really well. One thing, Mark, one huge criticism that nearly lost you the debate for me was giving up your time in the first rounds of cross. Like, you just conceded your time. I think a curveball threw you off. I think in future you should deal with that rather than conceding. But overall, I'd give it to Mark.
Thank you, Mitch. And Friction.
All right. Yeah. Is it all right if I take a bit of time here, or do you want me to be?
Go ahead. Take all the time you need.
All the time you need. Yeah. Well, so I do want to just emphasize, yeah, thanks for all the debaters. I guess not just the two that did now, but the other 6 that came before us. It's been great, and to the hosts and everyone for watching. This has been and to the other judges. This has been great. So yeah, a few things about the openings. I thought Mark did a decent job setting up the debate and his position. I will disagree, though, on the point about hedging regarding indeterminism. That seems like... So, look, the point about how quantum indeterminacy or something like that, which gets washed out on a higher level, might be a relevant point if you're trying to argue against free will, right? But it's not going to be compatible with your point of hard determinism, because it's not going to be compatible with determinism, right? So if you're... And of course, hard determinism is the thesis that we have determinism is true and we don't have free will yet. And so if you continue that, well, maybe determinism is false, it's not going to help that free will would be false regardless. But otherwise, the opening was I think, pretty good. And Placide had this opening where he talked about a few things. I want to cover some of the main points. The point about the A theory versus B theory, yeah, it seemed a bit strange. I don't see why that would be. A theory was a sort of hidden presupposition of Mark's position, or why it would undermine determinism or support free will. That seemed to be mentioned there a few times, but I just never became clear to me, and I don't think it's in fact correct. On the other hand, though, Mark seemed to try to turn it around and say, actually, that B theory supports determinism. I don't think that's correct. If determinism is a thesis about, well, this is another thing that sort of gets lost a little bit in these discussions, because sometimes we talk about determinism as a thesis about basically the laws and initial conditions or prior conditions entailing a unique future. And sometimes it's framed in terms of causal antecedents, and you might think these are related or connected, but they're different theses, strictly speaking. But regardless which way we're thinking about it, it's at least coherent conceptually to think that although the past, present, future are all equally real, for any given quote-unquote present, although we're getting, I guess we're dispensing with the absolute present, the past and laws of nature do not entail a unique future. That's compatible with B theory, it seems to me. And the same thing if we think about all the prior or antecedent causes. So it seems to me that theories of time and whether B theory is true is sort of silent on whether determinism is true, largely speaking. And so also the other physics stuff that was brought up later just seemed to not really bear much on that. Rebuildfist and 1780 and whatever else. Regarding another thing that seemed to be a bit of a sticking point in the discussion was personal identity and what persons are, what the subjects are that, on Mark's view, are restricted in their freedom. I thought, although this kept coming back, is that you're basically agreeing. We're talking about people. We're talking about you and me, right? We're the things on Mark's view which don't have free will. We're determined, and we couldn't have chosen otherwise in the same circumstance with the same laws and so on. I don't know why that would be. I mean, maybe you have disagreements between yourselves about what we consist of precisely, because at some point Mark was saying things about collections of perceptions over time, and I think Placide wanted to say a little bit more than that, or different than that. The collections of perceptions are things that the subjects have. But regardless, I mean, whether how you disagree about what makes us up, you agree that we're the subjects of his view, that we're the things that don't have free will. So I don't see why that was a sticking point, or why it would be relevant to, like, how that would in some way show that determinism or was false or free will is true. Just quickly on one of the arguments that was raised towards the end, I thought Mark did a good job of addressing this in his closing, that where Placide said, well, if you're granting that we're purely physical things, and physical things make choices, and they're not, I forget the exact phrasing, but it was something like, they're not restricted by anything from being physical things, or something like that. That's compatible with Mark's view, it seems to me. The question is, yes, they're physical things. They make choices. They're not restricted from being physical things. Perhaps they're not even restricted from making choices. But the point is, none of those choices count as free choices if free choices requires this libertarian condition. So that just seemed to not bear on the actual dispute. I think Mark did a good job of addressing that. I think there was something else I wanted to cover very briefly. Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that Placide brought up that I'm afraid I just really wasn't understanding. When he talked about how we do all three of the three options, is this supposed to be some sort of multiverse branching view? I'm not quite clear what the view was or why it would be relevant. And some of the other citations to, especially more what we might call continental thinkers, it just didn't. It's possible that it required further fleshing out, and that I was missing something, but it just didn't seem to carry much weight in the discussion for me. One final point, this is more general though, is that at one point it seemed that Placide was not agreeing to this sort of libertarian conception of free will. So I think maybe more time should have been focused on clarifying a disagreement over what free will amounts to. What is it when we attribute free will to ourselves and others? What are we attributing to each other? Because if he's rejecting his libertarian condition, what is he affirming instead? And it sounded like Placide said some things about about what that involves, but it wasn't quite clear to me. Maybe it was more clear to other people, but that really should have been hammered down, and then because that would have been a major point of disagreement. So that would be where I think the conversation should head further. But so, I could say more. I will end it there. I will say that I will give the win to Mark, but it was an interesting discussion, and thanks all for taking part.
All right. Thank you, judges. So we are taking questions. If everybody want to come up and ask questions to Placide, Saul, or Mark Allen, or even the judges, or even myself or Coco, you guys can come up. Thanks again, judges. Also, I hope that you guys will be willing to judge next week's debate. Is anybody else that
You
say it again, Fencer?
you do hope that.
Oh man, you guys did great, man. I appreciated the judges. Yeah, congratulations, Mark, and thank you, Placide, for coming up. Thank you guys for joining the debates. I hope to see you guys in the next debate as well, and I hope to see Mark in round 2. So, yeah, hopefully TikTok doesn't, go away. So. Nobody wants to come up? No questions?
We should have did the determinism debate before the dogsastic voluntarism, because they kind of like branch off from each other.
Yeah. Could have. I mean, you guys prepared however you prepared, though, so it wouldn't really matter at the end.
Well, I appreciate being a part of it. It was good, Mark. I appreciate the challenge, and yeah, I do understand that there was confusion because generally the conversation is very much determined, pun intended, in terms of where the libertarian free will person's coming from, and I'm just not coming from that position. It's the position itself, libertarian free will, this view that agents have genuine freedom to choose between alternative possibilities that's not determined by priors. I think with some further discourse, if we were speaking freely, I'd be able to really break that out as to why that is inconsistent.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to concede my note to like start writing notes for the next one, because I wouldn't have known what to say if I wouldn't like going forward. That's why I missed that question and had to ask you to reply it. But it just seemed to me like we agree on a lot. So we both agree on B theory of time, right? We we both don't grant like identity as a given. I take like a kind of like Humean bundles of perception over time. I'm not even necessarily like with causation like that. I think like causation is 100% like real, and we pin down what it is. Like I have my skepticisms about like strict causation and the way we talk about it. Even like I'm skeptic on a lot of these topics, but to me it just seems that given the inputs, we can expect the outputs, and that was kind of like the broader thesis I was trying to make.
Yeah, that is the general, right? That's understood. What I'm saying is that there's no differentiator between priors and the agent, and that's the point that's being made. You're saying that there's some that due to prior events or some nomologicals that there's an externality that then directs the agent. That is what generally everybody understands. That's the reason
I don't
I asked the
think
question.
there's a teleology there. Like I don't think there's any kind of like intentionality there. I just think that
Nor
like,
do I. I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is that there's no differentiator between those things that we are saying are externalities and the agent. And that's what I'm questioning. There is no one who can answer that question because it's not been considered.
But even if there's no
It's assumed.
differentiation, that's still compatible with determinism.
It is, but we're talking about now who is doing the determining, and that would make it free. That's the point. Is it me that's making the decision, or is it other? And if there is no differentiator between the externality, then it's the person too making the decision.
No, but I think he would agree that the person is making the decision, right? The question is whether the decision made is free, right?
Right. Then it would be.
because I think it's both. I think there's both externalities pushing the decision and a decision being made by what we're referring to as the agent, if that's the coinage.
I'm saying that the agent and all that is considered externality are one and the same, which would then mean that
there's no law of identity.
No, that there is a law of identity, and it's the identity of one. And so therefore that's why I was asking, well, have we ever assumed that the question? Well, no, I mean, that's why I asked the physical thing. If you're a physicalist and your biology is determining whether you like chocolate ice cream over vanilla, well, then that would not be a lack of freedom. That would be a true and pure expression. A lack of freedom would mean that the agent should be able to not be itself. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, but do you agree that it would be a lack of freedom in the sense of freedom that Mark was forwarding? In the sense that requires alternate possibilities given the history and the laws?
The alternate possibilities, the answer would be no, because of the basis that he's coming from. He's coming from the basis that there are factors that make a person what they are. And so those factors then, that would be like saying, would you agree that the cat should be a bear? No.
I'm not
and
sure
if the cat, what that means is that what we're saying is, if you are exact about what liberty means, the libertarian free will, I can do otherwise.
Preach it. I think you're wrong.
Do otherwise according to what is the question?
No, there's questions of, like, so suppose you, on some occasion, I don't know, eat a sandwich you choose to eat a sandwich and eat a sandwich for lunch. Now, there's a question is, could you have chosen something other than that sandwich for lunch? And
right, so, yeah, exactly, which gets us to the time, right? So choose otherwise. So that would be a presupposition that that all three weren't chosen, or the alternative wasn't also chosen.
Well, so this is what comes up. I mean, like when you talk about this, like they were all chosen. Is this some sort of multiverse theory? I'm not sure. What
Yes,
essentially,
essentially, yes, it would be that there is not a single version of any event or person or circumstances or conditions, and that if there are in fact an infinitude of the individual circumstance and
But
conditions.
determinism is about that particular world.
Well, I mean, you could think that
Why?
it's all in the same
Why
world,
is
but
that?
it's like a branching universe.
Why would
But each
why
one of
would
those
that be-
branches will also be, on the deterministic thesis, will be acting according to their own laws.
The laws haven't changed. You're right. But
Well,
the action, you're denying, you would be saying, well, this person in this world is not as authentic as the person in the other world. Why?
Determinism
We're
and
gonna-
modal realism are compatible. I don't understand.
Well, determining gets a little bit. I mean, if the model here is something like the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, I mean, I'm not sure what else we're talking about here. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's something like modal realism, unless, I mean, if he's saying that, then the modal realism doesn't really help, right? Because it would still be true for the world that you're at, or it could be true for the world that you're at, that you're determined to act in certain ways, and that you don't have free will. If we're talking about a model like where it's a single universe that's like branching off, like some sort of ever-ending quantum mechanics, it gets a little bit more tricky, because in some sense that's a deterministic theory, but in certain other senses we don't want to say that it is. Whether that's compatible with free will, that's a further question, but I'm not really sure. I mean, either way, it's kind of speculative to me. I'm not sure why we put so much weight on there being this correct theory of the universe where all the choices are made. Like, I don't know. It just seems.
Well,
and also,
here's the thing.
That's not
What you're saying.
guaranteed. That's not guaranteed on them.
What has been what this conversation? What the conversation has it revealed is that when discussing this, unless there is a finite limitation in regards to what is considered options and causes and effects and time, then there's no discussion that be had. That is not the nature of philosophy. The nature is to look at it and say, well, why is this the case? You're presupposing these presuppositions that, oh, well, agency is what? What is the presupposition for agency? No one has an answer, first of all. There isn't one. It's just, the agent is the person. Great. If the person is the extension of the very things that we are calling externalities, then there isn't anything that is restriction, and therefore liberty is not taken away. That's not being explored.
But you say there isn't anything that is restriction. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, where would this disagree with the denial of freedom in the sense that Mark was talking about? Like, it's still compatible with that we're
it's not. What he's saying, what is generally being said is this: the reason that the person doesn't have the ability to do otherwise, they cannot choose to go left because all of the priors have determined that they go right. And what I'm saying is the priors that, quote, determine for the person to go right are, in fact, the person. And there is only the extension. The priors are not something separate from the person. If you consider that to be the case, well, they're not the person, then yes, the person is determined by something other than themselves and they don't have free will. But if they are one and the same, then that is their will and there is only freedom.
Hang on. So typically for determinists, they will grant that the antecedent conditions that lead to how they act will include things about their prior states, right? but it's also going to extend beyond that. In fact, you could talk about maybe the initial conditions of the universe, if there were any, plus the laws of nature. Those are already going to determine how you're going to act. It's also going to determine all those other things about your prior psychology and stuff that leads up to the act. So it's not that the stuff that determines your act is entirely separate from you, because it's going to include things on most views that are like your prior psychology and experiences and so on. But so what? It's still determined in this sense. And anyway,
Yeah. Do you two want to schedule a debate with each other, or like what's happening?
Well, I don't think I don't know if any of us are hard determinists, right? That's the funny part.
They were just having conversation.
not a determinist, and
Yeah, it's just I think it's just
Well, I think Whit's point.
Placid, I just think all the points you're bringing up are orthogonal.
Yeah, but I think Whit's point, and people in the chat, and kind of mine as well, is I think you guys are putting in your own viewpoints on whether he is right or not based on your viewpoint, right? And so it's not about that. It's about if you convey his message, and that did Mark unravel that, should that?
No. At this point, I'm just having a conversation.
I know, but when you guys are judging as well, it sounds like that as well, because you broke down every single point in which you believe that he did not to be accurate. Yeah. But I don't think Mark did that, right? And so that's, I think, is the issue. And so I think it's kind of coming off in which you guys are judging in the sense of, well, I don't agree with his viewpoint, and this is the reasons why I don't agree with his viewpoint, and this is the stuff that he said. Now, granted, I think some of the stuff that he said was not correct. I think that he did straw man and did some of those things as well. But that's Mark's job to point that stuff out. That's Mark's job to convey that stuff. And I don't think he did a very good job of conveying those points that he needed to do. So, I mean, even though I would agree with Flinter and Friction on their points, it's not about what I think. It's about, did Mark do those things? And I don't think he did that. And that's why I would vote for Placid.
No, well, two things. First of all, I think he did do that reasonably well. But also, and I thought I pointed a lot of that in my analysis. But also, no, I am partly judging it on the content, right? And if I think he made a bad argument, I'm going to point that out. So I think that's part of the judgment, at least that's how I was approaching it. But yeah, of course, the most important is how the person addresses it and the stuff they praise.
Let's say that he made a bad argument, but like Mark didn't correct it. Do you think it's worse that Placid made a bad
so we
argument?
didn't give Mark points for that, right? But we didn't give Placid points for making an invalid argument.
Right. So if someone makes a bad argument and someone fails to address it, that's a mark on against both of them. Yeah. I would point that out.
So you had that in the rubric?
It was just kind of generally about content, style, and what was the third one?
I don't know. I'd have to go downstairs to get my notes.
Yeah, content, style.
I mean, I was and strategy, right? So I wasn't. I wasn't sticking precisely to some I wasn't writing down scores for every little thing. I didn't take any notes at all. I just sort of.
Damn it, I did.
Are we are you gonna go live on your platform? Are you staying here? Or what the heck's happening?
Later. Right
later,
now,
what's later though? Because if it's fucking 2 hours from now and they're just gonna yap about it, go to bed.
It's not what it's not. All right, but Robbie, did you have any questions for anyone?
No. I didn't see the whole debate. I kind of caught bits and pieces and a lot of the tail end parts of it. But that's kind of the way that I felt that it was kind of being off of the judging. Look, I think Flinter's right on for the points that he gave, but I just kind of felt that it was more of the judges critiquing their own point of views against Placid of how he did it versus Placid giving his points, and then did Mark respond well with that.
Well, were you here for any of the other debates?
A part of them. I mean, look, I've kind of given you feedback with. I think they're just too long. I actually commend the judges for staying so long, because it's a big commitment, right? I mean, we're not talking about 1 or 2 hours. You're talking about a lot. Okay, of hours.
Were you here for the whole debate? Were you here for the openers?
For his openers, for this one?
Yeah.
For part of it in the very beginning, and then I had something going on, and then I kind of jumped back into it.
Okay, all right. Were you here for Hierophant's debate?
I was here for your very first debate that you had.
The Hierophant's debate, remember, that was about basically theism versus atheism at that
right,
point.
But that was hours and hours ago. But yeah, I was here for
Hierophant's was
Jim, I think I was here for the first 15, 20 minutes of that.
Yeah, that was like about the resurrection of Jesus, right? Now, do you think that any of these judges are Christians?
No,
Do you
Yeah,
think
but
that?
also for the record, for this last debate, I affirm free will, and I'm
no.
also not a
But
determinist.
I think
So
the
it's not.
judges are fine. I think the judges are well versed. That's not the issue I have, and I don't think that they did that with anybody else. I'm just saying my point of view is that's what it seems like to me, coming off at the very end. I'm not saying that they're bad judges, or that they're not knowledgeable. Of course, I think they're more than perfectly fine. It's just the way that the style of which they were presenting to Placid, the feedback, it just kind of came off in the sense of it's them versus Placid, not Placid versus Mark, and then this is the critique. It just kind of rubbed off that way because
Do
then
you
we went
think
straight
you're
because
just
then we went straight
talking about
into
friction?
because then we went straight
I
into
could
them
totally see that because
challenging
we spent
his
more
points.
time. We spent a lot
I mean,
more
I
time
explained a
on
couple of
Placid.
mistakes or
Yeah,
shortcomings
so
that I thought that Mark had as well.
and then maybe the other part that like circled it was right after that they went into his points to try to give their criticisms, not having a debate but having a discussion about it. But they really were just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it kind of makes you think like, okay, well, are they putting in their points into the judging, or are they actually just kind of doing the thing? So look, I think they're more than fair. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that.
Okay,
was a
judges. I
little-
mean, you guys can respond if you guys wanted to respond to what Robbie said. You know?
Yeah, I don't. That,
I think that's fair.
And
No, who
Robbie
Slurms?
L.
Wait, who? Why Slurms? Is Slurms? Oh my God, Slurms! Oh my God, why did you do that? No, sorry, Detroiter. I'm gonna take away his mod powers for doing that, man. Go ahead, Detroiter. You can talk.
much to add. I mean, I think I approached it in a reasonable way. Yeah, part of it was addressing the content, even when it wasn't the stuff that I said wasn't how Mark responded, or not entirely how Mark responded. But yeah, I know I mentioned some errors I thought that Mark made as well, and I pointed out where I thought each of them, how each of them responded. So yeah, part of it I'm assessing the content and the quality of the points they raise, and also judging them based on how they respond and how they develop the conversation and so on. So like, yeah, that's all part of it. I mean, if we wanted to focus more on precisely how they responded to each other, and not consider just independently the quality of the points or arguments they raised, we could have done that. That's not how I was approaching it. I was thinking content was sort of part of it in this way. But I mean, yeah, I guess it's up to the organizers.
Right. No, I get that. And I hope you guys don't feel like I'm attacking you, because that's not my thing.
Cage, you wanted to say something
Um,
as a former judge of like other debates that we've done?
I don't care. Yeah, I don't. I lost my train of thought. Fuck you. Fuck. What did I come up here to ask? Why was I here? I don't know.
I don't know. You came up and then. Yeah.
Well, thanks for reporting a causal history, dumb fuck. That's not what I'm interested in.
I was just.
Causal history force you to do whatever you just did.
Right. Oh.
Believe whatever you just believed.
I don't know what I don't remember. Fuck. Oh. Okay. Fuck. Thank God. I'm just so incredibly accurate in reporting causal histories. Mark, the script that you sent me, it says here you were supposed to use more racial slurs in the end, and we didn't fulfill the plan there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Are you determined?
I'm
fuck. Sorry.
I'm just determined not to use those slurs.
But you were determined too. It's in your plan here. Actually, it's on page 2.
That is morally wrong. So I think you need a savior who died for your sins.
Yeah. Well, this is awkward. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, you kind of said what you said, but I don't know if that's what you wanted to say. I think that's probably what you just decided
I wanted to ask a substantive question about his fucking script, but then your dumbass was like, oh, did did he? And
Please
now we're
don't,
here. So
because to be like completely honest, I don't think I'm like a hard determinist. Like, because I had to do a lot of reading for this debate. I do kind of hold to like causal determinism. I think is true, but I think there's some like indeterminacy at the quantum level.
So
fucking
causal determinism is that there isn't indeterminism.
I mean,
2
look.
minutes.
I mean,
2
look.
minutes before the fucking debate, he sends me this giant ass script and goes, "Should I debate with this?" And I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Well, I mean, now he's gonna be your future opponents. You know, maybe I don't know. You know.
Yeah, when do we find that out? Do I have to wait 2 weeks in order to find out Jim's gonna lose
No,
again?
no. You find out. You find out next week. You find out next week at the end of.
Who wins on the other side of the bracket? Wait, is there a full bracket released?
It's
But
not
they're
gonna be
all
like a bracket.
losers.
It's not gonna be a bracket. What we do is, based on the surveys that it took, we pair them up with somebody who has just like who based on a topic that they prefer, and based on the opposite answers. So we pair them up with somebody who just opposes their views and the preferred topic that they want to debate. So we're just gonna leave it like open in the air for round 2, and then we pair them up.
All right, put me against Julian. I'll defend modal realism.
Well, Julian's not in the tournament.
Heard of this? No. Okay.
No,
I thought
no.
he was. Fuck.
No,
Okay,
I would have liked.
that's lucky.
I would have liked to have Julian as a judge. But
Yeah, I would have had to recuse myself as a judge if he was, because it obviously would have been biased against him. So.
biased with Julian.
All right, give
Robbie,
me Liam.
were you here?
Give me robust realism. I'll defend it right now.
Yo,
Rob,
hey,
were you here for my closer?
I mean, if you guys,
In
this
and out.
is what we're gonna do for round. This is what we can do for round
Okay.
2. Is like you guys can decide your opponents if you want and decide the topic.
Maybe I came in at a bad time, but like I came in at one point. Mark was like, "Well, I was confused. Maybe I didn't understand," and so I came in at a point where I heard you saying that in the debate, and so to me that just that didn't come out very strong.
I did say that. I conceded some of my time too because I was not. So I was not expecting the position that I encountered. It's not exactly the hard determinism, free will debate script that usually unfolds.
Yeah,
He bamboozled you.
Are you more
but
like a
at
soft
the
determinist
end,
then?
I don't really know what. So I think that like on a macro level, right, like in like Newtonian physics, our day-to-day lives, that things are pretty well determined. Like determinism rings true at our level of perception and reality. But I think at the quantum level, there could be like some indeterminacy. And remember, I have a monkey brain, but just because like uranium randomly sheds atoms, well, in the long run, from our perspective, that's like incredibly precise. So I think that there might be some quantum indeterminacy, but it probably like evens out, if that makes sense.
What? It's an ape brain, dumb fuck.
well,
Simiiforms and
All apes are
if
monkeys.
monkeys are simiiforms minus apes, then yeah, we're not monkeys.
technically,
There's this guy,
we all have.
on TikTok. There's this guy on TikTok that has these lies like we are monkeys or something like that. It's like, well, in one sense, yeah, in one sense, no.
I thought you hated TikTok, Detroit. How did you even get here?
He's getting paid.
Better be getting paid.
Yeah, I am paying.
Oh wait, AR.
Yeah,
Wait,
thank you.
are we still paying the judges?
Yes, we're paying the judges.
How much are
I
you
don't
paying
know
the
if I would
judges?
have.
All right, guys, I gotta run into work.
5 hours.
I'll catch you
tonight
guys
to do
later.
this if,
All right, Mark, thank you for being here, man.
Fucking Coco goes, oh wait, we're supposed to be paying y'all?
Yes. Even if Coco doesn't, I definitely will.
We're getting overtime right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I figured now we're just talking. We're not doing this.
I just have
No,
to,
this is on the clock, Friction.
Yeah,
I just have to make a budget.
Time and a half right now.
I was planning to pay each judge like $50.
Hear about your
No,
plans.
no, not 50. It's not. No, nah. Way more than that. No, it's not.
Way more? What the?
Yeah,
Well,
way more.
Money.
if we're doing both days, that's
If
like
you don't have it, it's fine, Coco. If you don't have it, it's fine. I got it. If you
I
don't
feel
have
like this is a talk you should have not in front of the
it.
people
It
for
doesn't.
which you're trying to motivate to come back.
No. It's. I literally told Coco, look, it's fine because I got it. If he doesn't, it's fine. It's completely fine.
Yeah, Coco, you're not understanding. He's Dominican, all right? He's got so many more things than just money.
Wit is ordering us to bed, so I'm gonna listen to Wit for once in a while.
But yes, that concludes the event. Now we could just talk or whatever. So.
See you, Flinzer.
So how many people are there's 16 people total, right?
16 people. Yep. There will be.
Okay, so there'll be 8. The other 4 next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess we might as well just then you probably have 4.
Yep.
The week after for the semifinals.
Yep. Exactly.
And then the finals of the last 2. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And if TikTok gets bananaed, we'll do it in the Discord server.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure
you could do YouTube live or something. I don't know.
YouTube live as well. Yep, we could do that. Make sure that everybody, I guess all the judges do have Discord, right? Mitch, Spencer. Yep.
Mitch does not have